The views and opinions expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of KTOO Public Media. This program may contain discussions that include terminology or perspectives that reflect different time periods, cultural contexts, or viewpoints that may not align with contemporary standards or expectations.
SEADOG has been involved in searches from Ketchikan to the Alaska Range throughout the state. Most of the searches are looking for the lost hunter.
My favorite saying is that everyone is handicapped in one way or the other. Because you are more severely handicapped doesn't mean that you have to stop living.
It's fun to take a trail that goes someplace. A lot of people just like to explore and think about how it may have looked when the miners were there.
Greetings and welcome again to Rain Country, the weekly television journal of life in Southeast Alaska. I'm Scott Foster, and this week we're going to go walking. Our first walk in Rain Country began a while ago, in 1897 to be exact, when a couple of prospectors were led by a native chief up this creek. This creek's a lot like many others in Southeast Alaska, with one difference. This one had gold at the end of it, and it led to the establishment of Juneau. Before and after the discovery on Gold Creek, rugged adventurers had hiked up many other similar creeks, up valleys, and along mountain faces looking for the glittering rock. Many of those hikes led to disappointing destinations, and the next year's vegetation covered up the footprints. Sometimes those hikes, however, led to discoveries, and those footprints were repeated over and over again, and trails were worn and paths were built. Some of them still remain today and form the basis for historic hikes in Juneau.
If they developed their claims, load claims mostly were the ones where the trails went to, they improved on the conditions, and therefore after they abandoned the mines, the trails are still there. So that's why we're really lucky. There are lots of old trails. I'd say 80% of the mining, of the trails in Juneau or more were old mining trails, Juneau and Douglas.
It's fun to take a trail that goes someplace, and if you're not hiking just for the sake of hiking, a lot of people just like to explore and think about how it may have looked when the miners were there. And if you see an old piece of metal laying around, you think, well, golly, how did they get that big old thing up there? This is downtown Juneau, and the Perseverance Trail came up this way. And then there used to be a trail that came on up Granite Creek that went on across to Annex Creek over here. There was another trail that went across to Sheep Creek where the power line came down that way. And then the main part of the Perseverance Trail was on up in this direction where the glory hole was in this area.
As you start up the trail, you can see the mining museum area. That's what people are familiar with at the Last Chance Basin. Now the old AJ buildings were in there for their mining, and as you continue up to Ebner Falls, if you look carefully across above the halls onto the hillside, the Ebner mill site was in that area, and that particular area was where one of the first stamp mills was brought in. You continue on up the trail clear to the end to Silver Bow Basin. Now that is the area where gold was first discovered by Harrison Juneau. And you can still see cement foundations and this type of thing. Most of the wood is, of course, rotted away or because of fires. But there's a lot to be seen.
Another one of the trails that was certainly widely used and is close to downtown is Sheep Creek. Do you know anything about that one?
Well, the Sheep Creek area, of course, was part of the original discoveries. There was a sawmill at the mouth of the creek, so about there where Thane is, which was opened about 1881. And then the Alaska Gastineau Mining Company took over. Each of these companies, of course, would sell and grow, but they ran the Sheep Creek adit into the Perseverance working. And they were able to mine the Perseverance workings, bring the ore out into Sheep Creek, tram it out to a mill that was built on the hillside called the Alaska Gastineau Mill at Sheep Creek itself, or at Thane, and a town developed on the waterfront that we now know as Thane. There were over 400 people living there at the time, at the town site. Of course, now it's just ruins. Yeah, and you can hike clear into the end is what they call a portal camp. That's where you see the most ruins before the trail goes up to further on into the wilderness. And you can see many ruins of the buildings, but they're all wooden and have collapsed.
This is Juneau, and the Treadwell Ditch started up at Cropley Lake and came down, and then you get the trailhead here and you hike down around here to West Juneau, which is a 12-mile nice hike.
What was the reason for the Treadwell Ditch?
The water was brought down for power for the Treadwell mines in Douglas. The borough crew brushed that just a few years ago, and it's in really good condition. It's fun to walk down there. For length, 12 miles is it's a pretty long ways to walk if you're not into that. But the ditch was on grade, so you don't, you go about this really gently. You don't go up and down. It's just it's a nice walk. This is Eagle Beach on this map, and we'll talk about the horse tram that went to Amalga. And the horse tram started at Eagle Harbor right here and up this way. The town of Amalga was right in this area and had several hundred people and a post office. At the town called Amalga, which is up very close to Eagle Glacier on Eagle River, was a fair-sized town with a post office, and they had a horse tram that started at a place called Eagle Harbor, which is just north of Amalga Harbor. And there are two ways to get to that area now. You can go on the Amalga Trail, which takes you to the Eagle Glacier. And the town of Amalga was up not very far from that trail. And then the other trail that goes between the two rivers to Herbert Glacier follows along the old tramway, and then the tramway goes off to the left and went off to Eagle Glacier, and the Herbert Glacier Trail goes on to the right. And the Herbert Glacier Trail, of course, is well maintained.
In my feeling, instead of going from just point A to point B, in other words, let's go climb that hill, some people love to look at the birds and the flowers, and that's wonderful too. But also hidden in the trees and the woods are some artifacts and some ruins that give you another perspective that man was here before you in the 1880s and 1890s. Our heritage is there.
But you have right behind you here some interesting bottles. Are those the kinds of things you might find on trails?
Well, probably not on the trails themselves, but hither and yon off in where the houses were. Of course, bottles then were a little bit more fancy than they are now because of the economics. This happens to be a cobalt blue bottle. But for me, who had this bottle in their hand? What woman fed this medicine to her family? And not only that, the color is pretty, and it is old. This is probably 1890s.
Well, I'd like to see us get the trail heads, particularly the ones that are on the borough property, identified and marked on the borough property so that if development takes place in these areas, the trails would be retained, because it's not practical to think that you could open up all these trails now, but who knows what the future would bring. And to keep public access, I think, is a real public treasure.
The original miners' trails were functional. Today, those that survive are recreational. Those hiking along those trails are taking part in a physical activity that hardly even requires a second thought because it's such a common activity. There are some, however, for whom even a simple stroll down the sidewalk requires as much care as others negotiating a narrow mountain ridge. That's because they're participating in life under a different set of rules.
Yeah, I miss seeing the mountains and the blue skies, but I picture them sunny all the time, so I really don't picture them dark or not at all, but I picture with green grass on them all the time, the green hills and the green trees and the blue sky surrounding them with white puffy clouds.
When you picture it like that in your mind, are you ever disappointed when you go outside and it's raining?
Sometimes, not tremendously. I tend to just ignore the rain and just enjoy the country in my mind, that it's beautiful and it's green. And
it wasn't many years ago that Mady Woolf could see those sunny days. She started losing her sight in 1979 due to diabetes, and by 1983, at the age of 28, she was totally blind. While learning to live without sight, Mady has discovered that some people aren't sure how to react to a blind person.
Well, people, once they get to know me, they treat me like an ordinary person, but people that see me and just begin to know me treat me as if I'm an invalid or helpless, and they tend to stick me with the people that they think are inactive and just sit. And like senior citizens, I end up being with senior citizens a lot. But once they get to know that I'm just as active without my sight and just as conscientious and to of things around me, then they treat me without any problems at all. They tend to be over helpful at first when they meet me and grab me and pull me this way and that way. So I have to tell them, no, I can do it. I know what's happening. And
do they speak louder to you?
yeah, they speak louder to me as if I'm blind and deaf, and talk to me like I'm a little child. Now, do you understand? You know.
It could be quite annoying, couldn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's real annoying, and I speak out when it really gets to me, but for the most part, I say, I understand. You know.
With a positive attitude, Mady is adapting to life's new rules. While there are some things she can no longer do, Mady has discovered that there are many activities and opportunities available to her.
I do miss working with my hands and doing needlework, and I do my crocheting. I crochet Afghans for people, and I like doing my exercising that I've been doing for over a year and a half now. The bike I hate, although that's the first thing I do every day. I like doing the sit-ups, and I do some weights too. But I like getting out on the floor and hopping around and really running, getting my pulse up and getting active and feeling just like nothing could stop me once I get going. If I've planned a day ahead of time, I'll either call the caravan or I'll take the public bus, because I know the bus schedule here, and the bus drivers all know me. And I'll just get off uptown and I can proceed from there. As long as there's a sidewalk and a building around, I can pretty much understand where I am. I have trouble out in the valley because they don't have set sidewalk. I need a sidewalk to have Glenda guide me to somewhere. If I don't know where I'm going, she doesn't know where, because I have to give her direction as to where to go. If I want her to go forward, I'll tell her to go forward, and she'll look at me and watch my hand, and she'll go forward, or right or left, depending on how my foot position is and my hand direction is. And she'll stop for corners, and I'll listen to the traffic and decide when it's ready to go, and tell her to go forward and cross the street. In case I start crossing the street and a car decides to keep on going, she'll stop me, and I'll wait for that car to pass. and then I'll tell her to go proceed across. She just goes everywhere I go. There's only been one place that I've had trouble with, and once I've explained that by law she is allowed in the building, they'll accept her. They're not too happy at first, but they will accept her because they know they can't do anything by law. And once they see that she's not disturbing or aggressive or anything, she just gets under the table and sits down and lays there until I'm ready to take off again. And then I've never had any trouble on public buses or anything. They accept her real readily.
Version 3.G. Go track ready.
I'm trying to get back into the workforce as a secretary because I enjoy typing and I enjoy working with people, and I'm a good typist.
Enter to edit an existing document, or enter and to lead in a new document. Please enter the document file name.
So I've been working with Voc Rehab to learn the new computer systems that they have, and I have a computer of my own that I'm learning to operate with a voice box that tells me what's being written up on the screen. So I'm learning that and learning how to operate in an office as ordinarily as possible without handicapped other people around me. My favorite saying is that everyone is handicapped in one way or the other. We're just more handicapped, and some people are just more handicapped, more severely handicapped than others. And that because you are more severely handicapped doesn't mean that you have to stop living. It just means that you have to do it in a different direction and just enjoy life as much as you can to the best of your ability.
My name is Ginger Steffen, and I'm involved with the 4-H program. I'm in dog obedience, and this is my dog Bailey, and I'm training him to be a guide dog. I got interested in training Bailey from Jim Douglas, who is the extension agency 4-H. When I first got Bailey, they sent me some of these, and it's a booklet to show me how to train Bailey, about like how to make him sit and lay down. They have some examples in here how to do that, and what I should get him used to, about like walking over grates, like there, and he should be able to sit in a car, sit or lay down in front of a blind person in a car, and they show that, and they show mainly just how to raise your guide dog, and right here they show you how you should train the dog to ignore food, like put it on a low table, put some food on a low table, and teach him how to ignore food. Bailey is supposed to be exposed to different animals, like birds and dogs and cats, and I've gone through that. What I'm doing now in training Bailey is the basic commands, and they are sit, down, stay, come, heel, retrieve, and after he is trained as a puppy, then they fly him down to Santa Fe, and they train him the real command or the real training for a guide dog.
Guide dogs are crucial companions to those without sight and help make negotiating, walking in congested areas easier. A different kind of guide dog is important for others walking in less accessible areas, like the out of doors. Since the unpopulated areas in Southeast are literally around the corner in every community, it's not surprising that many people take advantage of the accessibility. Usually, adventures into the out of doors result in returns home and good stories to friend and family. Sometimes, however, the hikers don't return. Then, a different kind of guide dog is needed.
SEADOGs is an acronym. It means Southeast Alaska Dogs Organized for Ground Search. We're a group of volunteers based here in Juneau. We train our own dogs to go out and locate people that are lost under various conditions, and then we are trained ourselves in some medical aid, basic first aid. Dogs have been used for a couple of centuries now over in Europe, and in the United States it's relatively new, since the 60s basically. SEADOGs was organized by a couple of individuals who were connected with a group in California. Initially one of them had been over in Europe and gotten inspired over there and came back and initiated a volunteer group down there called Woolf. And we went from their basic pattern of working and strategies and have developed our own, keyed more to southeastern Alaska and our terrain and stuff around here. SEADOGs has been in Juneau since about 1976. That's when it first got here. And our volunteers are a diverse group of individuals. We have a fireman, a couple of state office workers, myself a fisherman, and a woman who's a dental artist, I guess you'd say. And the dogs are about as diverse. The question of the breed for the search and rescue work is a highly debated one. We say that a medium-sized dog, something between 70 and 100 pounds, so that they're large enough to get out in the woods and yet small enough to be handled in aircraft and other conditions, should have a double coat so that they can take the cold climate and protection from the devil's club and other such implements out in the woods. They have to have a good nose and a desire to please the handler and enjoy the work.
Anything there? Okay,
We believe that the dog should want to do it just because it makes everybody happy, including himself. He gets the opportunity to go out and take a nice long hike in the woods. That's a motivation for ourselves too. We don't receive any compensation for the work that we put in, either in the training or the actual search time. We can actually lose money by not being on our respective jobs. We do it because we like to get out in the woods with our dogs, and we like the idea of getting out to help somebody that might be in need.
Well, Duke, you want to go to work? You want to go find? Huh? You want to go find him? You want to go find him? Is this a good dog? Yes, you want to go find? Okay, we got to go to work. Let's go find it.
What Dick's going to do is use the wind to find this person. And the concept is he uses his dog to find the scent cone coming from the person, downwind of the person who's either hiding, in this case, or lost. And sooner or later, if he goes into the wind perpendicular, his dog will catch the edge of that scent cone and follow it in to where it's more concentrated and the person is. In this sort of a problem, and in the way we generally train our dogs, is that there's no track set ahead of time, and that you're looking for someone's body scent that's out in the air. And typically, dogs have been known for their tracking abilities, and we also do that, but primarily we train for air scent, since we typically don't get a track in Southeast, or it's so old it's not useful. But the idea being that a dog can cover a lot more ground with his nose than a bunch of foot searchers can, arms length apart through the woods. I think the typical ratio that's given is it typically takes 60 people to one dog in the field to cover the same amount of ground with the same efficiency.
Good dog. Find him. Find him. Find him. What's up? Come. Did you find? You want to show me? Okay, show me. Show me. Show me. Show me. Oh, there she is. Good Duke. Good find.
As handlers, we require that an individual have at least advanced first aid rating so that we can take care of an individual that's injured when we get there. We also require that they know how to use a map and compass so that they don't become victims of a search themselves when we're out there. It's one of our basic premises. Also, they have to have the basic wilderness survival skills, because although we may have Coast Guard support that drops us off with southeastern weather, we can get cut off real fast and may end up having to spend a night or two out there on our own. SEADOGs has been involved in searches from Ketchikan to the Alaska range throughout the state. Most of the searches are looking for the lost hunter, and a predominant number of them are turning out where the individual shows up about the time we're dispersed to hit the woods. And we also have looked for lost kids. We were out here just a couple weekends ago in Montana Creek region doing some work there. We also do some avalanche searching. We're not sure when we get to a search site. We went out on one wilderness search site and it turned into an avalanche condition because a guy had walked up into a valley where avalanches were predominant, and that's where he apparently disappeared. The difference between the wilderness and the avalanche, the basic difference is that in one you're looking for something that's above the surface, and in the other you're looking for something below the surface. So we have two different commands. In wilderness or area searching we have what we call find. The dog's head will be up and he'll be sniffing the wind looking for the scent drifting from the individual. In avalanche condition we'll say search. That means put your nose to the ground and look for where the scent's percolating up through the snow. The snow is a bunch of flakes that are combined, and there are an air channel from the warm individual down there that's going to cause his scent to rise through the snowpack, and at the point where it comes through is where the dog will alert, start digging down. The dog focuses in on that scent coming up from the individual's head, most predominantly because of respiration, and will dig towards that source, which is a good thing because we're trying to get air to that individual before we worry about anything else.
All right! All right, Sadie! Yeah, good dog! Get the sock! Yeah! Good dog! Yeah, Sadie! All right! All right! All right! Good dog!
Well, the sock is a reward that we give, and at the point that an individual is saying, get the sock, it's in our training session. The training is consistently going on. Once you reach certification, that means that you've made it there for now, but it has to remain there, and we have provisions for removing somebody from the list if we feel that there's justification for it. The list is on hand with the Coast Guard and the troopers so that they can call us out when an emergency arises.
Come on, over here. Show me. Where is he? Is he there? Is he there? Did you find someone? Huh? Did you find someone?
Good girl, good girl.
Huh? Taco, show me. Good girl. Is he there?
That's going to complete another walk through this portion of Rain Country. All of those of us associated with the program will be hiking back along similar trails in another week. You're invited to put on your comfortable walking shoes and join with us. I'm Scott Foster. Have a good day.